Hello YouTube. This video is going to be completely different to my usual content, and it's kind of inspired by, I think it was last year or some time ago, Laurie's Mechanical Marvels and Chris Eden Green both put videos out for Mental Health Awareness Day. So this is kind of inspired by that. Also, I think Kyle Hill put out a video some time ago saying autism is my superpower. Might link to that in the comments. And I'm going to put this out on Autism Awareness Day because I have Asperger syndrome, and I just, I felt like I've kind of wanted to make this video for a while now, because it is kind of a common, I don't want to call it an affliction, but a thing with a lot of railway enthusiasts. So I just want to go over how, what is it, how did I discover I had it. Now this is I've got an actual leaflet here from the National Autistic Society that explains what is Asperger syndrome. Now, before you all come at me in the comments, there's been a lot of debate recently about whether Asperger syndrome is a thing, because apparently it got removed from the DSM-5. So is it still a thing? Is it just autism now? Is it autism spectrum disorder? So it's a little bit confusing, but I'm using the term Asperger syndrome because that's what I was diagnosed with in 2011. So yeah, well, it's all. There are lots of autistic content creators on YouTube who have way more information about this than I do. So I'll leave some links in the description. Yeah, so you can find out some more from there. But what is it I'm reading? This is straight from the National Autistic Society. Asperger syndrome is a form of autism, which is a lifelong disability. Some people don't like the term disability, but that's what's written here, that affects how a person makes sense of the world, processes information, and relates to other people. Autism is often described as a spectrum disorder because the condition affects people in many different ways and to varying degrees. So Asperger syndrome is mostly a hidden disability. This means that you can't tell that someone has the condition from their outward appearance. People with the condition have difficulty in three main areas. These are social communication, social interaction, and social imagination. So, blah blah blah. Characteristics of Asperger syndrome vary from one person to another, but are generally divided into three main groups. Difficulty with social communication, so difficulty understanding gestures, facial expressions, tone of voice. People with Asperger syndrome find it difficult to express themselves emotionally and socially. For example, they may have difficulty understanding gestures, facial expressions, or tone of voice, have difficulty knowing when to start or end a conversation and choosing topics to talk about, use complex words and phrases but may not fully understand what they mean, and be very literal in what they say and have difficulty understanding jokes, metaphor, and sarcasm. Yeah, that's that. We'll come back to that later on. Difficulty with social interactions. So people with the condition may struggle to make and maintain friendships, not understand unwritten social rules, find other people unpredictable and confusing, become withdrawn and seem uninterested in other people, appearing almost aloof, behave in what may seem an inappropriate manner. Difficulty with social imagination. So people with Asperger syndrome may have difficulty with, for instance, imagining alternative outcomes to situations and finding it hard to predict what will happen next, understanding or interpreting other people's thoughts, feelings, or actions. These subtle messages that are put across by facial expression and body language are often used to have a limited range of imaginative activities. That's kind of an important one, which can be pursued rigidly and repetitively, e.g. collecting and organising things related to his or her interest, like my pile of books about trains and ships behind me. Other related characteristics, this is where it gets at the relatable stuff. Love of routines. People with Asperger syndrome may have rules and rituals which they insist upon. So yeah, you get into routines, you insist on I'm gonna, my lunchtime I'm gonna do a lap of the town every day or something like that. Actually a funny story, well, kind of funny story that illustrates the point really well, was when I was 14, I got a girlfriend. Yes, that actually happened. She asked me out, and she really wanted to go, during school lunch, she wanted to go up the tune for her lunch, and I absolutely refused. I insisted I have my lunch in the school cafeteria, as I always did. I did not know what I was doing. And I guess we dated for a few months, I think. And then that was my last girlfriend until I was 30. So, like, pretty much from basically puberty right up until I was 30, I didn't have any relationships at all. That's a whole other thing. Autistic people and romantic relationships. Anyway, special interests. People with Asperger syndrome may develop intense, sometimes obsessive interest in a hobby or collecting. Sometimes these interests are lifelong, like trains. In other cases, one interest is replaced by an unconnected interest. So, I mean, I've been interested in trains my whole life, not just trains, but most forms of transport, so trucks, planes, ships, obviously. That's kind of a big one. I was really quite good at aircraft recognition when I was a teenager. I was in the Air Cadets. I think I've still got my Jane's aircraft recognition handbook from, got that when I was a teenager. Still got it. I've also got the tanks and warships one. One's up there as well. Special interest is a big thing with autistic people. Sensory difficulties. This is another big one. I shouldn't go much into that. So, no, it's on the back. People with Asperger syndrome may have sensory difficulties. These can occur in one or all of the senses. So, for me, bright lights and loud sounds. When I was a kid, and we're going back to primary school now, secondary school as well, but I really hated the school dances and sort of Christmas discos and whatever they had in the community centre when I was a kid. It was just too loud, and I hated it. It was painful, and that's something you hear from a lot of autistic people. You see all these kids going around with ear defenders on because it hurts. When the music's too loud or whatever, it's genuinely painful. That's a big one. Looking back, I mean, you go back to primary school. I mean, Yeah, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was a kid. I had those narrow interests, but it wasn't. I mean, it was probably noticeable if you were looking for it. Um, but or another thing that comes up, I don't think it's mentioned in the leaflet, was difficulty with coordination and sports, and I think there's a chap. I'm autistic now. What has done videos about that as well, and you see the videos from when she's a kid and trying to skip and throw a ball, and I was like, that was me. I can't skip, I can't throw, catch, run, swim. I was so bad at sports, so bad at PE when gymnastics when I was a kid, and yeah, like noticeably, always got picked last for the football and all that. So that seems to be quite a common thing for autistic people as well. But all of this kind of went unnoticed until I never heard of Asperger syndrome until I was on the train to college one time. And there was an article in the newspaper about Asperger syndrome. I was like, that seems awfully familiar to me. And I started, reading up on it and on the internet and all this. Could I have Asperger syndrome? But never really did anything about it until 2009. And I was at work. I was working on cruise ships at the time. Not going to mention the company. Not here to blow whistles. But I had what can best be described as a mental health crisis. I was at work, and long story short, I had what can best be described as a panic attack and fainted at work and was hospitalised. And it was like you know that scene in Iron Man 3 where he's like, "Is it the heart? Check the heart. I don't know what's going on." And that's what it was like, because people think, you fainted. Oh, is it your heart? Have you got some sort of heart condition? And they sent me off to hospital to get that checked, which was a farce, by the way. And don't even get me started on the US health system, because it's awful. But that's a subject for another video. But no, I fainted in. It was just I think fight or flight or freeze response, and my body just panic, shut down, and fainted, hit the floor. And that and it was all up here. It wasn't a physical like heart problem or anything like that. No, it was a panic attack, and my body just shut down, and according to the guy who was my boss, eyes rolled into the back of my head and keeled over. And that was kind of the culmination of I was going through quite severe depression and anxiety at the time, and I was considering suicide at one point. Yeah, my mental health has improved a lot since 2009, before anyone panics in the comments. It was not a pleasant time. So I quit that job, and I went to the doctor and says, "Look, I think I might have Asperger syndrome." And sort of went through, and said, these are the reasons why. They put me through an assessment. It took a long time. There's a very long waiting list for autism assessments. And I think it's got worse since then, actually. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. But eventually got assessed in 2011. So it took over a year, from like December '09 when I left that that job until I think it was early 2011. Actually got through the assessment and got the diagnosis, and it says, yes, we think you've got Asperger syndrome. So that was it. I've got it. And yeah, like I say, it seems to be a very common thing with, and this is going into the special interest thing, so it seems to be quite common among railway enthusiasts. I think Andros51 for sure, he said he's got it. Stephen Quigley, I think Joel Hardy. Simon Poole, you see him in his videos, he's got the sunflower lanyard on, so I don't want to like out anyone or speculate in this video, but yeah, certain people have kind of dropped hints but not said it outright. But yeah, there's definitely a few out there. I think Jake Neal, before he deleted his old channel, said, because he did a video about mental health as well. So there's definitely quite a few people out there with, in Train Spotter YouTube land with Asperger syndrome. So that's that. If you have Asperger syndrome, drop a comment. Tell me your story. I'd love to hear. Like I said, I'm going to leave some links to some other channels who do more all about this stuff in the description. Definitely go check them out, especially if you have, or you know someone who has Asperger syndrome or autism. And that's it for this video, and we'll see you next time with some back to our usual content. Bye for now.